Welcome to the Salesforce Level Up channel. In this video, I want to talk about how to use the Cursor IDE to help with some common Salesforce development tasks. Now, AI has come a long way in the last 3 years, and in that time, I've seen developers fall into two camps. The first camp is just waiting for the AI buzz to fade away. They see it as a passing fad, and they believe that things are going to eventually go back to normal and nothing big is going to be changing. The second group is bracing for a huge crash in our industry. They're convinced that AI is coming after their jobs and that software development will eventually become extinct in a matter of a couple of months. Practically, instead of waiting for AI to either fizzle out or to take over everything, it's more useful to just make the most of the tools we have available to us now. AI isn't here to replace us, it's here to make our lives easier and more simple. We have gone through a lot of changes in the past 10, 15 years as software engineers, cloud computing, single page applications, specifically for Salesforce, Salesforce flows, Scratch orgs, they've all come along and we've managed to learn and absorb them and use them. LLMs should be seen as just another tool that we can use to build software faster. The people who practice using AI now, they're going to have a serious edge over those who wait for some perfect moment that may never arrive. That's why I'm starting this series. It's to show you how to actually use the tools we have available to us, to show you how quick and easy it is to learn and to pick up. These videos focus on real world Salesforce problems we can solve with AI tools, not some vague hand waving about what might happen someday. We're going to build automations faster. We're going to gain confidence using these new types of tools that are really available to everyone. So with that, we're going to go into our problem set. So in this session, we're going to build a lead trigger handler with unit tests. We're going to walk through a common Salesforce request that's fairly common at work. We're going to go through a common Salesforce problem, something that you might get in your regular workload. We're going to refine the problem statement and turn it into something that the LLM can actually understand. Then we're going to generate some code, test it, and also deploy it into a sandbox environment. So this is the customer request. So somebody in the sales team has this and it needs to get this automation built out. So let's take a look at it. So they want us to create a follow-up task for a sales rep when a new or existing lead is web. The subject will say webinar follow-up call and the description should say follow up with lead and offer product demo. It's fairly simple. What we can do is we can apply our Salesforce knowledge here. We can take most of this, provide a bit more clarity so that the LLM has more context in what the request is. And this is our new refined problem set. We can say that when a new lead is created or updated in Salesforce, and only when the lead source field value is changed, then if the lead source value is web, then create a task for the assigned rep to follow up within 2 days. The subject should be webinar follow-up call. The description should be follow up with lead and offer product demo. Right, so let's go ahead and start building out some code now. I've got the Cursor AI IDE set up. Here it is. You'll see that we've got three work panes here. We've got the basic Explorer view. We've got the main working area here. And then we've got this new pane that allows us to prompt the LLM to do what we need it to. So here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to create the files that are required. We're going to have three sets of files. We're going to have essentially that trigger file, that infrastructure logic that we need. We're going to have the trigger handler class, take care of our business logic, and then we're going to have a test class full of unit test methods. Now, what I like to do is I like to very specifically say that I want metadata files for each of these classes. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Once we finish creating our files, then we're going to go and put in the refined customer request that I showed before into the LLM, and we'll inspect it, we'll verify it. Once all that is done, next, what we're going to do is create the unit tests. Once the unit tests are done and they all pass, we're going to form a couple of functional tests and just make sure that the code and that the build is passing on all fronts. All right, so that's the plan. Let's get going. So first we're going to say create new files. Then we're going to do the lead trigger handler file. And then at the end, we're going to say create metadata files for each of these. All right, so it's going to start chugging away and generate all these files for us. And you can also see that it's generating the XML files that are necessary. If we don't have the XML files, since this example is tied to a sandbox environment, if we don't have the metadata files, we won't be able to push to that environment. So it's really important that we have that. So it does look like it's gone ahead and finished. So you'll see this dialog box pop up here that says that we need to review 3 files. So let's go ahead and start doing that. So number one, this is the first one. We're going to go ahead and accept it. That looks like a regular metadata file. Metadata file is accepted here too. Same thing here. Okay. Let's just manually just go through these. Okay. So now I'm going to say for each of these classes, I'm going to say create a. What I could do is I can go into each file and say create or lead after update and insert. So this is the inline prompt that we can do on each file. You'll see that it went ahead and did that. It looks good so far. We'll see that it is looking for after insert and after update. It already noticed the fact that we have a lead trigger handler class and it just pegged it to that. Everything looks good here. Let's go to lead trigger handler class. And in this class, what we're going to say is create necessary logic to support. Now I'm going to go back to my refined customer request, copy and paste it. Let's see it generate. So it did create the handle after insert and after update, and it also created the follow-up tasks feature. It also created the create follow-up tasks method. I'm going to go ahead and accept this and then review line by line after it gets pulled into the file. So this actually checks the CRUD and field level security check. I'm just, for the sake of this example, we're just going to take this out. I wonder if it was allowed with sharing. It didn't put that in though. Checks for an empty set of leads, iterates through. It looks like it's a random logical statement there to put that check. So I'm going to remove that. So it does look like the rest of it though. Looks like it's all placed here. And you'll see that for the handle after update, it is checking for a comparison between the old lead source value and the new lead source value, making sure that the new lead source value is web. So now what I'm going to do is, since we've got a reasonably good point, I like to just go ahead and start deploying this to code to my sandbox environment. So this looks like it's gone ahead and deployed. I'm going to make sure that the lead trigger is also deploying correctly, which that also looks like it's been created successfully. Finally, what I'm going to do is go into the lead trigger handler test class and create a inline prompt here and say, I want to test form. I'm going to just put down 3 basic tests, right? So if lead source, a lead record with lead source led, it creates. And that's the first scenario. Then we'll do a couple for updating lead records. If they're existing lead record with lead source value of and then the third one, if there's an existing lead record value with a lead source value with a new lead source value, a lead source value of web, evaluate that only one task was created. All right, that looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and hit enter. We'll see what it generates. So that looks great. It's creating a web lead with lead source of web, and it's checking for one task being created, which it should. So that looks good. This one has a lead source of phone, so no task should be created. Okay. And this one gets inserted initially with a lead source value of phone, then it gets updated to web, and we should only have one. All right. This one also checks for the subject, which we didn't really ask for. But you know what? We'll just keep it there. I mean, you'll see as you go along that AI tries to be a little bit too eager to help out, especially when you're not specific about what you want to limit it to. Yeah, let's go ahead and deploy this. It looks like it's successfully deployed. I'm going to run all these tests. All right, so we do have some test failures. Let's see where we've gone wrong here. ID value of incorrect type, 69. So it looks like it's just ran 3. And we've got, looks like, two out of our three tests failed. So let's go to the first one, 69. So just interested to see which one has actually failed and which one has not. So that one has failed. I guess this one was the one that passed. Yeah. So the second one passes. All right, let's go ahead and just functionally test this out. So we've got lead record here. As you can see, I've been playing around with this. Just go ahead and just delete these. All right, so I'm gonna just, for this first test case, what we want to do is set it to the web lead source value, and we are going to, upon save, we should see a task being created. Create follow tasks in 69. Let's see, maybe it is the who ID that we need to send it to. Let's see if this will work. I think that might be the issue. Okay. Now let's try saving this out again. Again, having the lead source of web, save it, and we got ourselves task, a follow task. And I can tell you it is July 13th for me, and it does look like it created it for 2 days in advance or 2 days in the future. And it also has placed in the subject, webinar follow-up call, and follow up with lead and offer product demo. So that looks correct. Now I'm going to go back here and test this again. You should now successfully test. Let's see what happened. Okay, so now we've got, out of the 3 tests that ran, there was 2 that passed, so we're getting closer. Let's see which one not passed here. Oh, this one here. Let's deploy this. Run the test again. All right. So now it looks like all the tests passed correctly. And functionally, we've tested our first case out. So let's go ahead and go back and test the other 2 cases. I'm going to go ahead and create a second scenario here where the second scenario calls for the lead source not being web. It'll be phone inquiry, and a follow-up task should not be created here, which it does not. Now, our third scenario is we're going to use this same lead record and set it to web. And now this should create a follow-up task. Look at that. All right, looks good. So this video just went over how you can go from essentially an empty project to just starting to create out lead triggers, build out unit tests, and be able to deploy it in a very, very extremely fast manner, right? So one of the main advantages of using LLMs is clearly speed. However, in this video, we were able to go from essentially an empty project all the way to building out a solution in about half an hour's time. So the clear advantage of using LLMs here is speed, right? And you also have unlocked a new skill level. You're getting better at using LLMs to generate code for you. You still need Salesforce knowledge, so there's no getting around that. You still need to be able to understand how to design triggers properly, how to form unit tests, and the difference between a positive unit test and a negative unit test, how to deploy code into the sandbox environment, right? So all of this knowledge that you've accrued, they're not just magically just going to go away, and they're not going to become unnecessary for you. All this knowledge is still very important. So I plan on doing more of these videos. If you have other coding scenarios that you'd like to see, please let me know in the comments below. And until next time, keep leveling up.